Wow, you've done your research very well.
In the senior living segment, did you face any kind of negative sentiment? Because India is known for family, right? It's known for the culture, it's known for staying in a joint family. So, did you guys get any kind of a negative feedback to this?
Picked up the phone call and a consumer said, "You are changing the fabric of the nation." And I said,
Hmm.
"Sir, thank you for giving me the power that I could change the fabric of the nation, but I don't think I'm big enough for doing that. I'm just recognizing that there is a change and I'm
Hmm.
catering to it."
So, thank you, Ankur, for joining us today on Let's Talk Business series by Realty NXT.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Ankur, I want to know from you, could you tell us, we'll head back, we'll go back to the journey when Ashiana Housing was earlier known as Ashiana Engineers and how
Wow.
it came to its current form. And your father, Mr. Om Prakash Gupta, what kind of challenges did he navigate through those early days?
Oh wow, it's that's an old story. Ashiana Engineers was started by seven partners. My dad had failed in a couple of businesses, and I think seven friends were sitting down. I think six of them were civil engineers. Said, "What should we do as a business?" And everybody said, "Real estate sounds like a nice idea in Patna." There was no group housing at the time,
Hmm.
so they thought, "Why not we start it together?" And that's how I think the company was born from the real estate perspective. And obviously at the time there was whatever I heard from dad were very challenging times. So I think steel was also in quota. Deals in real estate was very difficult to
Yeah.
do. Group housing wasn't heard of. Seven partners coming together with seven different mindsets were more difficult. uh, but I think my dad got lucky. One thing I think he did very well, and I think we I really appreciate him, and that's something which sticks back to all of us in the company, and especially the three brothers who run it now, is that when he split up, he made sure he's friends with all of them. So the way he split up was very amicable, and I think their kids and us are still friends, and so it makes the feeling very very nice. And Dad continued with two another friend of his as a partner, and that's how Ashana Housing Limited came into being, which was 86.
So I want to know your story as well. In terms of when did you realize it is your calling to get into, real estate vertical?
So I had no idea. I think I was doing some a thing called Lifeline with a few friends of mine, and I was thinking, what are the life choices I've made? And I think till college I had made no life choices. It was all just directed by my parents, and whatever they said, I thought was they know right, and I just went with it. And so one of the first things when I was going to college, which was the US, my father had decided. I think he studied in the US, so he wanted me to study there. Before I was leaving, he said, "You have two choices. You can go and work in the US, or if you learn a lot and if you can bring it back to your country. So you decide what you want to do." And that kind of was not a choice. It was just telling me to come back and give it back to the country. So I think that was clear in my head when I was going that I'll come back and work in the country. And my dad being in the real estate business, I kind of after my fourth year from bachelor's, I was looking at what next to do, and my father started talking about senior living, and I started exploring senior living in the US a lot, and that intrigued me a lot. And for my masters, I did my masters in science from NYU in real estate, and that there also I specialized in senior living. So there I was getting more and more clearer that I really enjoy this, and this is something I really want to do. And if I'm going to go back to India, having the opportunity of your father running a company, there's nothing like it. And Dad was very easy to deal with. It wasn't difficult when generally, especially second generation, first generation. I think the day I came, he gave me the checkbook saying, "Uncle, here, take the checkbook." So he gave control, he gave power, he gave your thought a lot of meaning. He wanted new blood to come in and give new direction to the company. My elder brother was already there. It was an easy transition in that sense. So really appreciated that.
So in global market, we have seen from the beginning that the senior living market has been there. It has also evolved with the time. But in India, the time you guys started senior living segment, did you face any kind of negative sentiment? Because India is known for family, right? It's known for the culture. It's known for staying in a joint family. So did you guys get any kind of a negative feedback to this?
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
one day. So I used to do sales at the time. I was learning. Picked up the phone call, and a consumer said, "You are changing the fabric of the nation." And I said,
Hmm.
"Sir, thank you for giving me the power that I could change the fabric of the nation, but I don't think I'm big enough for doing that. I'm just recognizing that there is a change, and I'm
Hmm.
catering to it." So I think that's the truth, right? We knew that the nation is changing. There is a change. There is a need which was happening. Actually, elder abuse in India was at money. It's been very, very high, and
Yeah.
we all know it, but we kind of hiding behind
True.
the curtains. And I think recognizing that and creating a outlet for the seniors was very, very important. And it was very, very difficult in the beginning, and at the same time easy. The easy part was because real estate was in a boom, and when we started selling senior living, some of these guys bought it because it was a real estate. There was a dearth of supply. At the same time, the difficult was to make people understand the concept. First, my team did not understand the concept. I had seen it. To tell the sales guy what senior living is was
Yeah.
very difficult. So they didn't understand it, and they always compared old age home yahan hai, senior living yahan hai, old age yahan. So it took a lot of time, and then to take that and describe it to the consumer took a long period of time for us. And I think by the time the consumer understood it and got into it, it was I think 4 or 5 years down the line.
Yeah.
Even after the product was ready, I had to do a lot of change in the way behavior happened. So that was very interesting. It was very challenging, but great. And one more thing I think about this whole thing. I think a developer told my elder brother that why are you doing this? We are a joint family. And my elder brother asked him, "Do you make 1 BHK flats?" He said, "Yes." Then aren't you doing the same thing? So I think the question really is that the world is changing. We need to accept it, and we need to make sure that instead of actually not accepting it and trying to resist change, we should accept it and make sure that the seniors who are kind of living a much better life, and that's what our aim is.
So could you tell us more about the senior living project that has been, done by Ashiana Housing so that our viewers also know what kind of senior living project is all about, what goes into it, and is the amenity similar to how you take a residential home?
So one of the things we take a lot of pride in, if you look from the outside, and if I don't tell you it's a senior living, it won't feel like a senior living. So for anybody outside, if they come into the project, it would feel like any housing whatsoever. Facilities are similar, but the biggest difference lies in the services and the companionship. I think the biggest is the companionship. So, hum umr ke dost, milna is like a big thing. So, one of our biggest problems is loneliness.
Yeah.
Even when we stay together, we might be internally lonely. And senior living allows for that to happen. And I asked this question to a lot of my friends, what was our best time? And they would say, yeah, high school, yeah, college,
College, yeah.
So can we create that environment again? So we're basically creating an environment these guys make their best friends again, where they're free, where they're not judged. The environment doesn't allow, say, if a 80-year-old is dancing like crazy, nobody's saying that he's crazy. It's just, that's life. That's what he's doing. He's enjoying himself. I think the environment is a very critical piece of the play. And so one is the companionship, the environment, and third is the services. So we have dining services. We give a lot of the homely food. So if people don't want to cook, can come to our services. We have activity executives who curates activities. So we have about 125 different kinds of activities, and we say that if somebody wants to play Ludo, to somebody to play Sudoku, whatever the choice, we will try to create it. We're also giving now tennis and box cricket in our project. So somebody thinks of senior living and they think no box cricket, and we're saying why not? And whatever they want to do is what is the curation all about from the activities perspective. And we have about 30 odd clubs of different kinds, where dance, music, very different kinds of club, photography, depending on what the consumer wants. And the third piece is what we call the safety and medical side of it, or health side of it. I don't like medical. So we help seniors live a better, healthy lifestyle. And if there's a problem, then there's an ambulance and an emergency system for the same to happen.
And how does the maintenance thing work in this kind of, senior living residential homes?
So we maintain all the projects. It works in the same manner as any other regular housing, but the services are obviously higher, and they're divided into two kinds of services. One is part of maintenance services, or like regular activities are part of maintenance services. your security, your maintenance, your electrician, plumbers are part of your maintenance services. But dining services, medical services are all pay by use.
Okay.
So we divide the two into pay by use and part of maintenance services.
So everything is taken care by Ashiana Housing. There's no it's been not outsourced to another company or property management services like how we have seen. Are you guys doing?
So my father, in
Yeah.
the one of the difference he did was in the 80s when we were doing our first, when we left like we were doing work in Patna, but he started work in Jamshedpur, and he went back to Patna to see one of his old projects, and he, with so much love, he had made it. And when he went to the project, he said, "I don't want my brand name." And he was talking to a friend of his who maintained Jamshedpur, the Tata township. And he said, "Why don't you start maintenance?" And in Jamshedpur in 87 or 88, we started our maintenance company. So since then, I think whatever project we have delivered, we still maintain. So whatever what was delivered in 87, 88, it's been about 40 years. We still maintain that project.
Nice.
So we have a love for what we do. So not just senior living, but even regular housing we maintain. And senior living obviously requires a lot more expertise
Yeah.
to have the manpower, the training, and all of that, which we kind of cater to anyway.
That's interesting. And also, we have noticed that the brand itself is quite expanded to different regions. What do you consider when you are, shortlisting a location? What are the key factors do you consider when you're entering a market?
It's always very challenging to figure out new locations. I think from a perspective of senior living is demographics. So we want to look at demographics, which is what's the population of the percentage of older people, what is the per capita for them, things like that. But after that is the kind of land we can get and the partner we can get. If we get good partners, I think land partners are very critical in our play. We need good people to work with. And thirdly, we also look at if in the market, do we have enough differentiation? And if we do, then we like to enter that market. And we depend on people. I think if can we get good people to hire, if you get good people and great land partners, 90% of the problems are kind of solved.
Yeah.
And 10% is just evolution.
So talking about land partner, so in an industry where land banking is happening in a very huge manner, we see that Ashiana Housing has paved its way in a different path, where you're not getting involved in land banking, but you are, getting collaborated with the joint ventures with the landowners to develop a project. What was the reason behind this particular decision that you, as a brand, took, and you have still made sure that this decision is always in any cities or any regions you're entering into?
Wow, you've done your research very well. Again, it was dad's thinking, and the three brothers continued to do it. Dad always thought land as a raw material. For a real estate developer, actually, land is a raw material. The margin should come from the quality of development we do, and not from the land appreciation of the business. So we always saw land as a raw material, and we got lucky with it. Honestly, I think people who did land banking went into a lot of trouble when the downturn came. They had huge loans in their on their books, really faltered, and land wasn't as expensive as they thought it would be. And I think there's a lack of the market has lack of expertise in high quality development. I think out of India, I would say about 10 to 15 developers. I really could take pride in saying that they're really doing good work. Because a lot of the concentration is on the land side and not on the development side. And I think there is a huge consumer want, and which is not being filled. So for us, we see that if you concentrate on one side of the business and really do well and keep understanding it and keep getting better, there's an expertise in it. A lot of people think, I remember when I came back from the US, I met this guy. He said, "Construction में क्या है? Land खरीदो, contractor लो, architect को hire करो और broker लो, काम हो जाएगा." But it really takes a lot of expertise from the design side, from the construction side, from the maintenance side, from the selling side. And how transparent can you be? Are you really being transparent to the consumer? So I think as a company, we have sat down and said we will be very, very specialized in our product side and really put a lot of intelligence behind it. And I think that's kind of paid off for us.
And going back to your senior living project, we noticed that you guys have entered in the Pune market, right? And this project called Ashiana Senior Living.
Correct.
I wanted to know about this project. First of all, what made you enter Pune market? And coming to the second follow-up to that would be the delivery time of the project, which I have noticed is scheduled in October 2026. How would you make sure that the preferences and the needs are still met with your targeted audience?
Wow. So really, we thought Pune is a big market from the very beginning. So
Hmm.
actually, we signed up our second senior living in Lavasa
Yeah.
and then Jaipur. But with Lavasa, all the challenges which came in,
Yeah.
we just delivered our project, but with the different challenges which came in, we were not able to make it successful. And from 2012, we've been looking for land in Pune. And for
Hmm.
some reason or the other, I always used to say Pune doesn't love me. And there was a big signage used to say I love Pune, and I
Hmm.
used to say Pune doesn't love me. And over the last 3 4 years, I think Pune started loving me, and I think we got the two lands, and we're doing one regular housing and one senior living. And I think the market lies not just in Pune and Mumbai. And
Hmm.
again, if you look at the demographics of seniors, after Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra is the number two market if you look at the percentage of seniors
Hmm.
with per capita. And that made us very interested in the Talegaon market because Talegaon itself is on a very nice elevation. It's got very nice views. It's got great weather.
Yeah.
It's got connectivity both to Mumbai and Pune, so it attracts both the crowd. So from a
Hmm.
perspective of the land, I thought it was just a perfect, and again great land partners in Wakefield,
Yeah.
who are great people and lovely to meet. So it kind of just went checklist by checklist, and I think when we design our product, and that's my elder brother. I think he does a phenomenal job on the design side. Uh, he so we look at in the phase one when we deliver all of our amenities with the phase one. So the
Hmm.
largest part of the amenities, which is the club, actually we are looking at getting it ready early next year, May June next year,
Okay.
and so the consumer will be getting all the services upfront,
Hmm.
not all but most of them.
Hmm.
There will be obviously some missing, and we will try to make sure that everything is ready. And we've got really like very good response from the market. Whatever we expected, we have kind of gone 20% above what we expected.
And in this particular senior living market, what are the basic needs or demands of your targeted audience that you keep in mind when you are, building these projects?
So we look at see again we can define it in 4 5 different ways. I think one of the things which is not talked about enough is a high quality home. Okay, so
Hmm.
one of the things we want to make sure is it's not one of those अब क्या चाहिए छोटा सा घर हो जाए that's all.
Hmm.
That's not right about seniors. We as individuals always want big places,
Big
big
space.
enough. We
Yeah.
don't want a villa which is very hard to maintain or like
True.
a 5,000 square feet place, but we don't want a 300, 400 square feet place. We
Yeah.
lived our life in Bombay or Pune. We have been living in small spaces. We want certain amount of space. So we think one house is a very critical piece of the pie.
Hmm.
Second is this idea of activities. I think we after retirement, one of the biggest things we as individuals look for is purpose.
Hmm.
We lose purpose as we retire, and one of the things we try to find out is what is purpose for every individual. So I know a senior who moved into my project about 10, 12 years ago, never danced in his life, loves dancing,
Hmm.
and now he went to a restaurant where he and a friend of his went there, and the music played. All these youngsters were there, nobody was dancing, but they were dancing.
Hmm.
Okay, there is this lady who came into our project with depression, was a national Kathak dancer.
Hmm.
Came back, got rejuvenated, started doing Kathak on stage again, and got out of her depression. So, and then new, like I could tell you about like 50 to 100 stories like this where
Hmm.
people have found purpose again. And I think
Yeah.
for me, the senior living is largest about purpose and nothing else.
Hmm.
Uh, After that, it's all what I call it is good things in life like conveniences and medical and great atmosphere, services which we add on to. But one of the things we try to work with our seniors is to find give them enough choices so they find their passion. And I can tell you all the services I give, but I don't know if that's a great place or not.
So it's quite interesting, these testimonials that you mentioned. So I wanted to know from you the time you started with this concept of senior living and the things you mentioned, the challenges you faced. But I'm sure there must be few heartwarming stories or even incidents where you felt you took the right decision of, going ahead with the senior living projects.
It's just amazing. It's I never thought I was going wrong because I always internally believed in myself, and I think the concept is a very because of whatever I saw in the US, I was really happy in what we were doing. I remember I went to a senior, and I actually went to a senior in the US and asked her this question: Why are
Mm,
you spending so much money in the senior living when you can give inheritance to your children? And she said the biggest inheritance I give them is the gift of a worry-free life. And I think
mm,
that was like such an important thing we forget about. We make our children capable, but then bring them to back to take care of ourselves, right? In
yeah.
some ways. And we really don't want to be taken care of because, we want to always be independent. And
Mm,
this guilt about the children and the parent not being able to take care of creates so many different problems. So we understood the problem very clearly from the stories. I had this lady who moved from New Zealand to our project, and she said, "My husband has stopped taking insulin shots because of the environment you've created." There was this couple who loved stick dancing. I never heard of it, and
mm,
they kind of performed on stage on stick dancing. Uh, I had this guy who walked in a wheelchair and started walking in a walker, and then started walking with a just a walking stick, and it was just a wonderful feeling because the environment pushed him. You know what? A lot of time, what happens is you you think you can't walk because your environment is always helping you.
yeah.
When you're seeing other people your age walking around the track, you try harder, and you learn that life has more to offer, and you want to live for a different purpose.
True.
So I think the way environment, I think the senior living, the environment it builds is just infectious.
Mm,
And for us, I think dad passed away 2013. Yeah, I think 2000 October is when we started. He had a dream to make the inter college fest into an
mm,
inter Ashiana senior living fest, and we
right.
did our first in Jashan one. We call it
Mm.
Jashan, and the number of seniors who came out to perform was just unbelievable. It was just a fantastic environment, and so many seniors that came and said कि मैं जिंदगी में नहीं सोच सकता था ये कर सकती हूँ या कर सकता
Mm.
हूँ, and I'm doing it just because of you. And the kind of blessings we all got was just amazing.
And it still continues every
Yeah,
year.
so we just had the Jashan last year, and there's this lady from Lavasa who had a little bit of a heart issue, but she came there and she saw people doing the ramp walk. She said, "I want to do the ramp walk."
Mm.
So my estate manager pushed her, "Why are you not doing it?" She's like, I don't know if I can walk that long and stand for that long." She's like, "I'm there." And she did it, and when she came back, she was having this thing. So we got her a chair. She's still having a problem. We got her a nurse, checked her BP, made her settle down, and she was super happy.
Mm.
For her, that was a great feeling, right? At
Mm.
the end of the day, that's what you're doing for. I had this senior who, if you, so we had a camera with a van on it and a cycling competition, and the guy
Mm.
was cycling so fast that he
Mm.
left the cameraman behind. So he was just excited to be first. And
Mm.
there's actual fights happen because they say, "Oh, that guy cheated. He went off. He was supposed
Right.
to be walking and running." So it continues to be one of my favorite days. I always say I'm like a child in Disneyland that day. So I
No,
feel like
true. And also the kind of activities you have mentioned in this fest you guys doing, I think people are forgetting when it comes to retirement. It's not that they don't want to do anything. They want to do. It's just that there are no opportunities, right? It's just that people feel, okay, up 60K ho gaya, you need to retire, you can't work in office. But people forget their mind is still working, their body is still working. It's just that the choices are not given to them or the opportunity is not given. And I feel you guys are truly doing something different and great in that front.
thank you so much. It's so exciting.
So the additional services which I've heard of Ashiana Housing is that you guys also provide the resale and rental services. So how do you ensure a customer satisfaction for both buyers and tenants? And how does this fit into the overall, success of the business?
I'm kind of questioning that right now, honestly. I don't
Mm,
know. So it's a service we started. A lot of our buyers used to be NRIs. We used to be outskirts of locations. So people to travel was very difficult. Earlier, there were no brokers in location we used to sell. So there, if somebody wanted to transact, he used to transact through our estate manager. He used to, the customer aa jayega to bhej dina. And it was very unorganized. So we said, if it's happening unorganized and they're getting dissatisfied, we'll organize it. So we went from that mindset that our team was already helping, but not in a very disorganized fashion. So we said, let's organize it. Let's put pressure on ourselves to get rentals and resales done. But now what has happened is, because Ashana is doing the resale rental, the expectation of the consumer who's selling or renting it is that कि अगर आज बोला है तो अब तो हो ही जाना चाहिए, आशा ना है. But the markets are not allowing it. So when the downturn happened, we really actually we didn't do as good of a job personally. Honestly, we didn't do as good of a job, and consumer expectations were very high from us. And I think there I felt like we let down our consumers in some ways. Uh, so I think one of the things we learned is that we want the market forces to run, regular market forces. We don't want to control everything. So luckily, by the time we were in the last few years, brokers have come in, and we kind of collaborated with them and said, let's get some exits from our consumers. From a perspective, the only thing we make sure is it's a very transparent deal. Pricing is very clear. We don't want to be dishonest about what product is available in the market. So we kind of clearly say that these are the market products available, these are the pricing in the market. So there is very, very clear transactions both for the buyer and seller, and we stand by what we do. So it's more about transparency of deal making than anything else. But yeah, it's been challenging, honestly.
So in 2018, you guys had a partnership with IFC, and now you have revisit that partnership. Could you tell us about this business proposal, how it's benefiting both the parties, and what kind of partnership is this all about?
So honestly, my younger brother handles the finance side. So if you ask me truly what goes on, I wouldn't be very very strong at it. But general idea is basically we need money to develop, and they provide the money and they take a return on it. Obviously, they have very high standards on the developer they choose and the product they choose. They want to make sure that because it's a World Bank organization, that they're funding products of a certain kind. So we fall into that product category. So I think that's one part of it, and the second is that they're happy as a developer to work with. Uh, we've done so the first round. I think it was about 150 crores, and we've done three transactions with them on that. One in Jaipur, one in Gurgaon, and one in Chennai. The Jaipur and the Gurgaon one have done very very well. And I'm sure they'll make good returns on it. For us, the Chennai is yet to start, and I think there also the returns should be very good.
And this is mainly focused for the senior living projects.
No, it's focused for regular housing also. There's a price band. So every city has a different price band. Again, my younger brother would know much more about it. But my understanding is there's a price bracket where a certain percentage of your product has to be below a particular price band, so that you're catering to a mid-income segment.
Yeah.
So depending on the city, that mid-income. So Gurgaon would have a higher mid-income segment to a Jaipur, and senior living is a total criteria they're in. So in Chennai is the one we are going to do senior living with them. The one in Gurgaon we've done kid-centric, and in Jaipur, which is almost delivered, is regular housing.
Okay. And talking about kid-centric approach, I think apart from Gera developments, you guys are doing into it. How did this concept started with Ashiana Housing to focus on kid-centric, and what it is about for our viewers to understand what exactly is kid-centric projects?
So from a kid-centric perspective, so this started I think 2015 or 16, if I remember. So we have a coach out of Canada who kind of helps us with our annual and 6 month planning. So one of the things we have to do is what's SWOT. And one of the trends we were seeing, and one of the trends was this double income households. We were seeing people spending a lot on the kid, but not having the time for it because it became double income. So we saw some trends. We were seeing the trends. We saw again, like in the US, we hear this thing called the soccer mom. And as soon as we saw the double income, people wanting to spend on the kids, not having time, it basically meant soccer mom is getting alive in India also, and we needed to release that time for our consumers. And that's where kid-centric homes came in, where we said that can we create an environment for our children who really can do something different, uh, and not need parents' day intervention in it. So
Mm.
that was the way the concept kind of came in. Uh, we've done three projects, delivered already. The fourth one is under construction right now.
So what kind of amenities goes into the kid centric? Because I'm trying to understand. Is it you providing library or daycare? What exactly goes into
It's
this?
similar to what I again say. It's very similar to on the senior side. It's the kid side. I
Okay.
think we what we have is what we call a learning hub.
Mm.
In the learning hub, we have an activity in charge. The biggest thing we kind of focus is on reading. One of the things we learned earlier on is that we had a consultant who said that readers make learners, learners make leaders. So you want reading as a major activity. So we spend a lot on the library. We went to the American school,
Mm.
understood why libraries are made in a certain way. So like for kids which are below reading age, you want photographs to be the books to be showing to them on their face, because they see through pictures and then they get
Visuals, yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
For adults, for more elder kids, you want it like that, so they have a thing, and try to start spending time early. So
Mm.
our library would have about 30-40% of the books which an American school would have. So we
Nice.
would spend a lot of the energy and time on that. We then have dance rooms, we have music rooms,
Mm.
we have 3D printers, we would have science rooms, we have tuition rooms. So we have a learning hub where the kids come in and it becomes their space, and we get outside coaches and outside teachers to come and help. So I just about 6 months ago they made a hydro rocket in the thing where wanted to go about 10 meters, no, 50 meters up on the rocket, and they did that.
Wow.
So we basically create environments for the kids to kind of excel.
Mm.
There is on Sundays there are days when we get them to become cops in our project. So somebody not wearing helmets, not wearing
Mm.
seat belts, they go give tickets out to them.
Mm.
They are cleaning guys. They go and understand how what our team does on cleaning, and they then rate ourselves if we're
Mm.
good or excellent. They go learn in our STP how sewage comes in, how they get treated, how water gets recycled.
Mm.
They understand about solid waste management. So a
Mm.
lot of the environment which we're already creating, we kind of use that and
Mm.
get kids to do more. We take them for museums, picnics. So basically what a parent wants to do but does not have the time to
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
and we create the environment to do it, and we have other kids, so best learning anybody does is through peer learning. So we
Mm.
make sure those kinds of things are happening well. We have music bands
Mm.
in our projects, and it's a lot of fun.
It's quite interesting to know for each new concept that Ashiana Housing is doing, you guys quite go inside the depth of what the customer want and how you can make it better. So make me understand now. You're seeing you must have seen how the real estate industry is also changing and getting involved with the time. In this current year, what changes have you noticed have come, especially from the customer buying preferences? Are there any demands that you think are going to capture the market in a manner that in few years it's where the developers have to adapt or have to engage and learn when it comes to customer buyer preferences?
I'll have to think through each segment a bit, but there are two things which I'm okay, and this is going to be true. It's a cycle, so not true at a level. I think bigger sizes are being more preferred again, which
Hmm.
was true earlier, and in between over the last 7-8 years when the downturn came, it changed,
Yeah.
and the preference is going back up again on the
Hmm.
thing. Uh, One thing I found in Bombay, there was no balconies, and I find that so weird.
Hmm.
So I think that's one thing which we saw in Talegaon being
Hmm.
very well appreciated, that having a large balcony from a consumer point of view. In the senior living side, we're trying to do two things. Which one, we're adding bars. Okay, so one of the
Hmm.
things we are seeing is that occasional drink is something of a need in the evening. So when you're doing a music
Hmm.
concert or something like that, people want to just grab a drink with it. So one of the things we are trying and seeing if that works. Second, we are trying to see from an emergency point of view or from a technology point of view, should we bring Alexa in? So
Hmm.
those are the two things which we are seeing. But if you ask me very like very high level of any
Mm.
particular product, I'm not seeing any major change
Okay.
of that kind. There will be, I think, what we lose out on sometimes, it's not about the big thing, it's about those small tweaks which you do, and the
True.
small
Mm.
nuisances you look at
Mm.
is going to be very important. So one of the things we take a lot of energy on is how to make homes less maintenance, because I think one of the things is maids are going to get expensive, more difficult to handle. Can you make homes which are much more, so like if your windows are uh, so packed that sound and dust reduces
Yeah.
within the house. So those are things which I think are going to be a need of the hour as you go. But concentrate on the small things. I think we're missing out on the small things to look at the big trends. I think consumers irritants are very very small irritants. It's
Mm.
about that pipe leaking all the time, or that and there's a lot of design things you can do to just improve the quality of plumbing or improve the quality of electrical and things like that. So I think that's where we are putting a lot of energy.
True. So the recent report by Knight Frank, it shows some very interesting trends in Indian real estate market. Where the mid-segment homes are going bit up as compared to affordable homes. Um, where do you think the change? Where do you think this change is happening in terms of buyer preferences, and how does a developer make sure that the affordable homes doesn't get affected, or make sure that it caters to all kind of income segment?
Truly speaking, affordable homes, a lot of people had branded us as affordable homes. We were never affordable homes. We were always a
Mm.
premium of the market. To us, affordable homes are very difficult to do, and I think the cost side doesn't allow it. Okay, so we
Yeah.
have to be very careful while doing affordable homes. And I know some companies talk about affordable homes and things like that, but when you look at the balance sheets and stuff like that, they're not very strong. It's very difficult to do high quality affordable homes, and
Mm.
I think it's not a developer's responsibility as a country. If you want to do affordable homes, if you see world over affordable homes, they
Mm.
largely come on outskirts and where land prices are cheaper. So I think what is happening in India from an infrastructure perspective, if that continues to happen, and our design philosophy where we don't run after FSI
Mm.
and run after doing work at lower FSI, I think will help affordable housing. Because as soon as you go, if you have to do affordable housing and you have to go high rise,
Yeah.
cost of construction goes and kills affordable housing.
True.
So I think this run for FSI from a developer's perspective needs to stop.
Mm.
And secondly, I think the design thinking which the local government needs to have on affordable housing has to
Mm.
be very very clear. And if infrastructure goes in, I think affordability of affordable housing will work.
So the government has come up with RERA and even PMAY to boost and regulate the real estate market. According to you, what kind of other policies or recommendations you would suggest that the government should come up to boost the real estate sector?
Uh, I'm a strong believer of real estate. So I don't think the government can do much and
Hmm.
should do much. Okay, my personal opinion lies in the fact that if government concentrates on the economy to go up and jobs being created, that's the biggest driver of real estate, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we are just a secondary to the market. If people get money and they get
Hmm.
jobs, they will look for homes. So at the end of the day, I think the simplest driver for real estate is create enough jobs, and that's the demand side of it. And more demand goes up, supply side will catch up, right? So basically, we need more demand in the market. The other way the demand goes up to me is the home loan and the interest rates.
Yeah.
And that's a very tricky with inflationary pressures, with growth pressures. That's a tricky piece to keep a control on. So I don't have, I think they're doing a good job. I have no expertise in that area. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't even want to comment on the interest rates.
It's a safe answer.
That's not a safe answer. It's actually the honest answer. I do. You've seen me. I've been very candid and very
Hmm.
clear in my mind. So I don't have a thing. But I think the biggest thing the government really can do, and I think India is, to me, I'm so like you remember my dad said, "Come get back." And one of the things is I'm very 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 buoyant about India. I think as a
Hmm.
country we are we are getting economically wealthy, we are getting infrastructurally healthy, our industries are getting more progressive, our people are getting more progressive, our management is getting more progressive, and I'm
Mm.
very, very gung ho that as a businessman, one of the things I tell my team is don't do anything stupid.
Mm.
If you just do the things right,
Mm.
you'll sail through.
So I'm curious to know from you because you have the skin in the game, right? So I want to know from your perspective. We have noticed branded developers, the bigger the brands, especially in the housing segment, they are entering into metro cities, those urban cities, as you say. But when it comes to tier two, tier three cities, which can have plethora of good job, opportunities as well, the infrastructure getting built there, we are not seeing a balanced market there where we could have more silicon valleys or more skyscrapers. We are seeing less branded developers getting involved in tier 2 tier 3 cities. So do you think in the coming years we'll see a different change happening to these particular cities when it comes to real estate market?
Uh, I think so. I think there is like so many tier two markets which are just huge. Ahmedabad, Pune,
Yeah.
Jaipur, Indore. You can name so many. And I think again, I believe connectivity is a very key play in the world. And the way I've just landed, I saw a flight to Jamnagar, and I'm like, the flights. There's flights to Darbhanga. There's flights to
Hmm.
small towns all over the country. And I think that will really affect real estate. So I think connectivity is a key play in these tier two, tier three. Uh, but there's never going to be urban centers are going to be urban centers. World over, urban centers have been urban centers. There is a magnet which we keep talking about. We talked about after COVID, New York is not going to be New York anymore, or
Hmm.
Bombay is not going to be Bombay
Yeah.
anymore, and we know that it just bounced back, right? There is something about there's a magnet in these cities which have been already built,
Hmm.
which I don't think will die, and they will continue to be the hub.
Hmm.
But with the population of India and the way it's growing, I think there will be a lot of scope. And I'm not as gung ho about tier three anymore as I used to be. I would go to tier two from a real estate size perspective.
Hmm.
I think tier three should be left to local developers who will do a much more better job on ground than us, because one of the things we learned is our overhead costs as we grow goes up considerably. We thought we'll have economies of scale. It kind of went backwards when you
Hmm.
go into tier three. If the volumes are not there, it's
True.
very difficult to do
Yeah.
that. So there is something about specialization from a local developer is what our belief is now.
So talking about the cities, I want to know Ashiana Housing expansion future plans.
So we'll be not too many cities.
Hmm.
One of the other things we it is challenging to manage, and it has every state has a different law, and to understand their local state, what every city has a different law to understand planning norms and things like that are getting challenging. So for us right now, we're looking at the Mumbai. So we've kind of defined Mumbai, Pune as one market,
Hmm.
Delhi, Jaipur as one market. Chennai is another market, and we're looking at Jamshedpur. Obviously, continues to be a big market for us, and we are looking at maybe Bangalore or Hyderabad, one more market like that.
Nice. And being a listed company, are you guys planning to expand beyond India?
No, I don't think so.
Hmm.
We do get opportunity of it, but I think again, knowing where your specialization and your strengths are, right now India is not in a situation where it's saturated. Like, it's not like where US is, where I
Yeah.
don't have enough scope to grow. I don't know where I can go in India right now. I don't even
Hmm.
know, I think I can 3x and without even breaking a sweat in India, right?
Hmm.
I'm doing 2,000 homes a year. I could do 6,000 homes, no questions asked. So there it makes no sense to, I think we'll go from a branding perspective, देखो कि international hai. That's not our idea.
Hmm.
Our idea is that there's enough growth here right now in the Indian market. It'd be stupid for us to kind of walk out of the door and start looking at other things.
So in the current fiscal year, what are the ongoing projects?
Oh, quite a few. So we're looking at launching 5 projects this year. One we already launched, which is in Pune.
Yeah.
Two more senior living in Chennai. Two more projects in Jaipur. One we're going to go in a high-end project after, I think in the history first time,
Hmm.
which is called 144. and another villas and regular housing project in Jaipur. So those are our five projects of launch this year. Except that I think we have about 8 or 9 projects which are continuously going on. So we'll be in the range of 14 to 15 projects here.
So sustainability and green practices are becoming important now in real estate market. What Ashiana Housing as a brand is doing while incorporating these sustainable practices, this eco-friendly practices, is there any particular project where we can know more such initiative has been taken?
So again, all of our projects in one sense is eco-friendly. We don't get ourselves rated, but we believe that we've like I remember. So when STP wasn't a rule in the country, which
Hmm.
was I think the rules came in 2000, and
Yeah.
my father did a project in '94, and we had an STP in our project. Okay, so
Hmm.
we always want to believe in doing the right thing and running it through because we maintain our projects, right? So one of
Hmm.
our biggest problem is if we do something which does not get happy with the consumer and does not affect the environment from a long term perspective, it
Hmm.
doesn't work for us. So our biggest run comes from the fact that we maintain our projects. So from the design side, one of the things we really strongly, and my elder brother does a lot, is do a lot of cross ventilation. So good quality air
Yeah.
reduces usage of air conditioning.
Hmm.
So our buildings are not covered with glass, so it allows for air to come in, and it reduces the requirement of light and natural light. So we don't have in our buildings we don't have to switch on the lights during the day. A lot of
Nice.
the buildings which
Hmm.
require it.
Yeah.
So simple things like that we do.
Hmm.
We have lots of green spaces. So most of our projects. So to give you an idea, like the senior living, the first senior living we did in Bhiwadi, 15-acre project, 4.5 acres of green spaces, must have about 3-4 thousand trees. Okay,
Hmm.
it's crazy the amount of green spaces it is having.
Yes.
So we spend a lot of energy on that. We measure the amount of sewage which comes into my in our sewage treatment plant, how much gets treated, how much gets recycled. We put it in flushing. We
Hmm.
make sure that the flushing quality is good. We keep a check on that. Uh, uh, last year, oh, just before COVID, we took a drive and
Hmm.
think of a project which we delivered in '88. We changed all the lights to LEDs.
Hmm.
So we went there and upgraded it without charging the consumer for it.
Hmm.
So we'll do very, very basic things,
Hmm.
but do it very well and make sure the consumer and the environment gets advantage of it. And we capture water usage to generator outage. How much output should the generator give?
Hmm.
And if the generator is not giving that output, it's actually affecting the fuel consumption. So we'll do some things like that. So
Hmm.
it's more basic, but more impactful according to me.
Yeah. So before I begin our famous rapid fire questions, I want to ask two questions from you. It's like an unfiltered conversation. First, I want to know from you is I'm sure your father played a quite influential role in your life, especially when you entered this career. How would you say, or how would you summarize the kind of influence he had over you?
Oh, everything.
Mm,
The funny thing is, I think my mother did have more influence in some ways. I was always a mother's kid, mother's
mm,
son. But my mother always made me look up to my dad. So he used to say, "कि अपने बाप की तरह बनो." कि okay, he was like this, he was like that. So I think my mother played a very influential role for me to look at my dad as God to me. Okay,
mm,
so everything. I think he used to write cards to us, which used to say, "I don't expect anything from you, but just to expect you to be good human beings." So those kinds of things have been very, very instilled in us that being a good human being is critical. Doing good work is important. Being hardworking is very important. Giving back to the nation is very important. Taking care of the people you're responsible for is very important.
yeah.
So he always used to say, "कि तुमको आशाना दे रहा हूँ." It doesn't run your house; it runs thousands of houses. So be very, very. So if you don't do hard work, then it's not
Mm,
worth giving Ashana to you guys. So it's got that instillment to us that we're responsible for a lot more people than
mm,
ourselves, and
true.
that's the driver for us.
The Ashiana itself is a beautiful name. For you, what Ashiana stands for?
To me, it's my purpose in my own life. Is my purpose. I think
Mm,
I repeat that. मैं रहूं या ना रहूं, आशियाना रहना चाहिए. So to me, that's I think it's a very critical part of who I am. Uh, and I think for us, the company's purpose is to give. So we have a purpose which we say "Behtar Zindagi Ka Pata." And what means to us is anybody who's associated with Ashana, can we make their life a little better than what it used to be yesterday? And that's the driver of every day for us. That are we changing and making some improvements every day?
Also, I want to know, and I'm always curious to know this from the real estate developers, that we whoever grows up as a kid, if you're from the background of army, IS, IFS, you have a different childhood experiences. But when you have a father who has been entrepreneur from the beginning and who has taken a lot of risk and has gone through those challenges, how would you summarize your childhood experience while being on those sites when he was looking out for those projects? Do you recall some experiences where you felt, what, this is something bigger, this is something better, where you are having the power to transform people's life?
I am truly sorry. I don't remember anything like that. I
Hmm.
don't think my dad used to just whenever there was a. We used to do very limited projects at the time, but I remember a couple of times. I know JJ Rani had come and inaugurated a project
Hmm.
called Ashana Gardens. But I was a kid. I didn't understand what was going on. I was just playing around, and I thought कुछ important चीज चल रहा है, अच्छा लग रहा है. I
Hmm.
think कुछ dad ने किया है. One experience I remember is like I was talking to a friend of mine. And in Delhi, nobody knew us, right?
Hmm.
So I was just telling him, my father is running Ashiana and things like that. So he said he went and he spoke to his bua, and his bua used to live in Jamshedpur. So उन्होंने बोला कि ये तो करोड़पति होगा. So that's how I got to know I'm rich. So
Hmm.
that's like that's the funnier part of the incident. But
Hmm.
I don't think dad or mom ever kind of in the beginning ever put pressure on us on business.
Hmm.
The pressure was always being good kids. I think for all three of us, and business came later. I think my elder brother might have gone through a different experience because he was the elder kid, Marwari
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
not me.
Great. So let's start with our rapid fire round, and I'll be asking you the questions, and you can't think too much. You have to immediately reply by whatever first
Okay.
thought comes to whatever I ask you. So I want to know your favorite aspect of real estate industry. What is your one
People,
favorite?
people,
People.
customers. I love customers. I love employees. My energy goes to a different level.
Nice. If you could go back in time and give yourself, your younger self, one piece of advice before you were entering real estate industry, what that would be?
So whatever you learned in New York, it's nice, but
Hmm.
get to the Indian reality. So one of the biggest mistakes I did was I learned in NYU about owning assets
Hmm.
and wanted to own assets and rent them. We didn't have the money to own great assets, and we started owning Class B assets, which really backfired, and it wasn't a great idea.
And what's one thing you wish more people knew about the behind the scene efforts that go into a real estate project?
I think the amount of coordination you have to do. I think it's just crazy the to be transparent to the consumer on the
Hmm.
product side, from the electrician, the plumbing, the architecture, the engineering, the number of players involved.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous. I never thought the number of parts which come in, the number of suppliers you have, the
Hmm.
number of warranties you can give, the number of it's really backward integrated at a different level.
Nice. How do you unwind and relax after a busy day at work?
I love sports.
Hmm.
So for before COVID, I used to play squash a lot, which was a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Lately, I do gym and a little bit of walking. I kind of enjoy that. That's my time.
Nice. What is your favorite book or movie that has, inspired you?
What kind of a movie?
Book or movie that has
So
inspired?
when I went to school in US, I went to a college, and the first like professor he showed us a movie for a class,
Hmm.
and the movie was called Rudy. And there was this 5 feet 3 inch guy who made it to one of the football Notre Dame football team,
Hmm.
and that was just super inspiring. It just showed that nothing is impossible, and if you really believe in yourself, you can really if you work hard, you can get it. So something which just still sticks to in my head.
And one thing on your bucket list that you haven't achieved yet.
I really want to. So from a work perspective, it's been. I really want to create a different kind of a senior living, and I think we're there. We're coming
Mm.
there. It's just not one senior living. I think we. I want to be known as a senior living player, not in India, worldwide. So that's a bucket list in my mind. It's
Mm.
like if somebody wants to think about senior living, they won't just look at US or learn from Australia. They
Mm.
would like to come to India to learn from us. So that's one part of the bucket list. And from a personal life level, I think. I love traveling. So South
Mm.
America is part of a bucket list which I haven't done yet.
Again, South America, I know, but I want to ask this: beach vacation or mountain retreat?
So my wife loves beach vacations, so I end up in beach vacations most of the time. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'm on a mountain retreat, which is kind of missing. But I also love beach vacations, but
Mm.
we do so much beach vacation that sometimes I miss the mountains.
Nice. So, if you could have dinner with any real estate industry legend, who would it be and why?
It's quite a few, yeah.
So, name two.
So in America, I wanted to meet John Erickson, which I did. So
Mm.
he was used to run Erickson Senior Living
Yeah.
Community, so which was part of the bucket list in a way. So I met him, I learned a lot from him. So
Mm.
that's kind of done. But so two Indian guys. I think one I really like KP Singh for his thinking. I think DLF has transformed itself a number of times to
Yeah.
become a great player, and I think in between I wasn't liking what they were doing, but now I think they've just kind of recreation and they're fantastic, and the way they can think is brilliant. And
Mm.
I would love to see how he thinks about real estate, and he's different from us where he does land banking and we don't. And I
Mm.
want to just know what has been his hits and misses. He's written a book. I should read that, but I haven't done yet. And second, I think Oberoi reality here, the kind of
Yeah.
margins he's able to drive in his
Yeah.
business in a Mumbai, which is a ferociously competitive market.
Mm.
It's quite impressive to see the kind of work he's able to do, the quantity of work he's able to do, and the margins he's able to drive. It's fantastic, and in a
Agreed.
single market.
Agreed. So, any favorite, quote or mantra that motivates you on daily basis?
What a mantra! There's lots when I think of it, but I don't have a daily one. I think different days, different inspire me, but I think. I think Dad used to say, just work hard on being a good human being. It's not easy.
Mm.
The biggest things you have to be is that when it's hard times, how do you take a good decision? And I think in good times, everybody can take a good decision. And
Yeah.
it's the driver that in hard times, how do you take a good decision? And that's very challenging if you were to look at it.
Nice. And describe yourself in 3 words.
Happy, quite chilled,
Mm.
passionate.
What's your favorite memory from your childhood?
Favorite memory from my childhood. I love friends, so my
Mm.
memories end and start like with friends. So learnings from my father, fun with my friends.
Mm.
I don't know for one particular ones. I had many. Like it's like a college fest to me, and I remember just hanging out with my friends all the time, and that's so heading to a friend's house and just
Mm.
chilling was like my go-to, and I used to love that.
Nice. So, one skill or talent you wish you had.
I wish I was a great cricketer. Yeah.
Okay.
I love cricket as a game. I just love the way the game is played, and I wish I was better at it.
Your most memorable achievement or milestone at Ashiana Housing so far.
Uh, I think senior living again. I think
Mm.
making the first project successful, and then taking a decision to do the second one in Bhiwadi, and then coming into Chennai. I think
Mm.
all those kind of decisions have been something which I've been very happy, passionate about. The other I really enjoyed doing was writing a book on that and his learnings. So that was another thing which I really was close to my heart. Uh, yeah, I think those
Yeah.
two.
One thing people do not know about you, and if they would, they'd be surprised to know.
So in office, people think I'm an extrovert. I'm an introvert.
Okay.
I'm a very introverted guy. So I have
Mm.
what I've realized is there are situations where I flourish and there are situations where so if I go to a party, I like a corner where I can just meet one person and have a drink with him all evening. And most people in my office think that I'm an extrovert because of my sales and marketing personality, but that's only during that time. It's not on a regular day to day.
And future goals you're most passionate about achieving, I think, apart from the Ashiana housing that you discussed earlier.
Future goals.
Can be personal even.
So in the so it's part of the personal and the professional. I want to make sure that as three brothers we are able to perpetuate the business more than us, bigger than us, much bigger than us. And how to do that is going to be one of the goals. And once I'm able to do that, how can I retire in a nice life, chill out, and still have purpose for myself, which is different from Ashiana. And that I would like to see. What kind of different things can I do? I want to do social work, but I'm not sure if I'm a guy who's truly driven or driven. I'm not sure about it. But there's something about me or something inside of me which says that I should do it. But if I really wanted to do it, I would have done it. That's what I know about myself. So I'm kind of confused about that. So that's an area which I want to kind of explore a bit more to see if it's truly me, where I have the emotions for it. Do I really have the heart for it or not? I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Right. Last but not the least, I want to know, we have seen real estate changing and we have noticed young, generation getting into real estate, having positive outlook for real estate like we never saw before. What advice would you give to this young generation who is the aspiring, professionals who want to get into real estate?
I think that the thing Dad gave us was cash is king. Remember, cash is everything in real estate, so don't mess with cash. And don't be super aggressive where it sounds very good in the beginning. It can be a killer. So remember, aggression to a certain level is great. Over ambition can kill you.
True. And thank you so much, Ankur, for today joining with us and talking about Ashiana House journey and also about the upcoming projects and a lot of insights on the real estate landscape. And we wish you a lot of success and the brand a lot of success in this continued coming years. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.